It's a John Lund Unleashed emergency show.
911, what's your emergency?
Something big must have happened because Lund isn't getting off his ass for just any old breaking news. A big trade, free agent signing, or his family is just sick of hearing him talk sports all day.
Hell yeah!
Make sure you are subscribed at John Lund Unleashed Pod on YouTube and the podcast, or you might miss the news. Now, with whatever it is, here's Johnny.
Well, whatever it is the biggest news that the 49ers could have in the offseason. It is finally done, May 16th. So if you had under May something or other, under June 1 on your Brock Purdy when the deal gets done poll, you win. Brock Purdy gets paid, as you can see right there. Emergency show. Thanks for joining us. Good thing you had your alerts on because you are here. John Lund Unleashed on the Bay Area Sports Collective. Welcome, welcome, welcome. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Remember, this is why you have your alerts on. So you subscribe, you keep those alerts on, you give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much for joining us. Brock Purdy gets paid. How much? How about $265 million, which on first thought for me is a good deal for the 49ers. I had predicted and wrote a piece at johnlundunleashed.com, 6 weeks ago, something like that I thought it was going to come in at about 5,290 with about 185, 190 up front is what I said. It ends up at 5 and 265, which is 53 million per season, with 181 million up front. So what does that equal? I'm a little bit surprised that it's short of Trevor Lawrence to a certain extent, but let's hit it. So this is what it means for Brock Purdy. And again, welcome. Brock Purdy gets paid. That is your breaking news and your emergency show. John Lund Unleashed. Maybe you're watching today, by the way, on X at John Lund Radio. Thanks for joining us. We'll give you all the numbers on Brock Purdy's new deal. I'd love to get your thoughts. Migrate on over to the chat room here. A lot of people nationally are going to probably say, oh, I can't believe, I've said this before. I'll say it again. There are three elite quarterbacks in this league. In some order. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. That's it. And then on any given Sunday, you can go 4 through 10 or 15 or whatever, and you can jumble them all around. Sometimes it's Matthew Stafford, sometimes, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's Jalen Hurts, sometimes it's Jared Goff, sometimes it's, it's just, you can throw it up in the air, and it depends on every Sunday when you want to go past 3. It just depends. So Brock Purdy is in that mix somewhere from 4 to 10 on any given week. This was the contract he just finished up. Let me go in the corner here because I just love doing that so you don't miss me. Well, I'm kind of in the way there, aren't I? Let me see if I can flip it like that. That's not any better. Let's do this. But you can just see right there the contract that he just finished up, and that was the salary. So he just made short of $1 million last year. You look at the cap number at $5 million, 1.6% of the cap. Now that's all going to change, and we're going to get a full breakdown of Brock Purdy and pie year and everything like that. But that was the original deal that he had, the old deal, which made him not one of the best bargains, the biggest bargain in all of football. And now at the age of 26, this is what Brock is going to have. So overall, total value there. You like that? You like how I did that real quick? $265 million total value. And again, total value, I tell you this all the time, it's just inflated numbers. It's just the guaranteed money. You see right there in the column where it says total guaranteed, fully guaranteed. That's the money that matters. The average per year in the total value is just like, just take a tire pump. Pumps up the tire, overinflates it. The agent jumps around and is all happy, and so is the player, but he's not getting $265 million. We're going to find out when we see what the number is. Just like Brandon Ayuk, I told you this. It was a 3-year contract worth about was number, it said 120, but in the 4th year of the deal, it jumped up to $43 million. Brandon Ayuk's never going to see that. It's the same thing. Fred Warner this year has a $29 million cap hit. He's not seeing that. So when you see that number jump up big time, that means the contract is over. So he's the 5th highest paid quarterback by overall, but that's not really the number. But let's play. Mahomes 450, Josh Allen 330, Trevor Lawrence 275, Burrow 275. Brock 265, coming in just ahead of 262.5 for Justin Herbert and on down the line. But that's not the number that matters, but that's what the agent's going to say. I got Brock Purdy top 5 money. Look at me. Good for you. Let's move to the next one, which is average per year. And again, this is still funny money because that's not money that's guaranteed, but let's play the game because all the national guys, oh my God, Brock Purdy's making $53 million. Oh, what an overpay. Oh, they'll never be able to compete. But just for the fun of it, Dak Prescott's at 60. Jordan Love's at 55. I thought he'd beat these numbers, but again, it's just about the guarantee. So 55 for Jordan Love, 55 Burrow, 55 Lawrence. Allen took a cut, quote unquote, at 55, Tua at 53-1, and then Jared Goff and now Brock Purdy, 5-265 is the deal. That's $53 million, just ahead of Lamar, etc. So that's where he is as far as per year is concerned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tied for 7th in per year. Tied, I think he was 5th, right? 265 was 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at 265. So 5th for that, 3rd for that. We just did the 53. Let's go here for the next one. This is total guarantees. This is the money that matters. No matter what, the other stuff's just funny money. And like I said, it's just inflated money. Doesn't matter. Total doesn't matter per year. This is what matters. So Josh Allen has $250 million guaranteed. Number one. Dak Prescott, $231. Deshaun Watson, that entire contract was guaranteed at $230 million. Joe Burrow at $219, Trevor Lawrence at $200. This is where I'm surprised. I thought he'd get the $200 million that Lawrence got. He's better than Trevor Lawrence. I don't care. One was picked at the top, one was picked at the bottom. He's better than Trevor Lawrence statistically and team-wise. Lamar Jackson at $185, and then just ahead of Jalen Hurts at $179.3. That would be Brock Purdy at $181. So it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in that. So he's 8th in guaranteed money. He is 7th in per year, which doesn't matter. And he's 5th in overall contract, which doesn't matter. It's the guaranteed money at $181 million, and that is what Brock Purdy has. So right there, $181 million after Lamar and before Jalen Hurts, and that's the money that matters because that's the money he's actually guaranteed to get, which means total guaranteed money. That's what it means. And again, 5-265, $181 million. And like I said, Dak, Burrow. By the way, I left Burrow out. Burrow's the 4th best quarterback in the league. So Josh Allen's 1. Mahomes is 1. This is how I'd put it. Mahomes is 1. Josh Allen is 2. Lamar Jackson is 3. Joe Burrow is 4. And then whatever. And beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Justin Herbert on a certain weekend, oh my God, he's awesome. Jalen Hurts on a certain Super Bowl Sunday, oh my God, he's awesome. I don't think Jordan Love is in that conversation. Maybe he's top 10 or top 12. Matthew Stafford's probably 5th on most weekends. Derek Carr just retired. I don't know what Darnold's going to be. Baker Mayfield's in the middle. Justin Fields, please. Cam Ward, come on. Those kind of things. So, C.J. Stroud had a great rookie year, wasn't as good in his second year. So as you look at that, because everybody goes, oh, Brock's not top 5. Well, look at the list. I mean, he's in that range. Any given Sunday, Brock's anywhere from, 5 to 10 in my book, because like I said, I misspoke when I said the top 3 are set. The top 4 are set. I think it's Mahomes in some way, shape, or form, the 3, and then Burrow's 4th. But I think it goes Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow, and then whatever. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Stafford could be in there at some point. Hurts could be in there at some point. Brock could be in there at some point. I mean, it's just from 5 on, it's like whatever. What did they do? Who did they play? That kind of a thing. So that leads us to emergency show at the top for the chalkboard. Purdy gets paid 5-265. 181 guaranteed. I just showed you where that is in all those ranks. And again, the $265 million is not all guaranteed. So that doesn't matter. The per year is inflated. The overall is inflated. The $181 million is what matters. Not like last season. What I mean by not like last season is last offseason, the deals didn't get done. Hold out Trent Williams, hold in Brandon Ayuk this year. Kittle done early. Purdy done early. I told you this when the Kittle deal got done, and that's why I got so pissed at an NFL insider that said that Kittle's deal wasn't getting done. I knew it was getting done. I heard it was getting done. I heard that they were dotting I's and crossing T's. And so when that happened, I was like, it's getting done. And then when it did, I said, this is a great sign for Brock Purdy because what it has taught the 49ers is in a really hard way in 2024. We can't sit here in the training camp and be nickel and diming these guys. If we want George Kittle back, let's get it done. If we want Brock Purdy back, let's get it done. And what this also indicates to me, so not like last season, that's what that means on the chalkboard. What this also means is Brock Purdy, to a certain extent, I'm not going to call it a hometown discount because it's not. He's not from here. He's from Gilbert, Arizona. He's not from the Bay Area, but he wanted to be here. He was here for in sessions that weren't even OTAs. He was here when he didn't need to be here. Obviously, as we said, things were going well. They were having positive discussions. Clearly, we said they were because we had heard they were. And he didn't want it to be a negative thing, but could he have held out? Like I said, I put up a 5-290 with 190 guaranteed, end up getting 181 and 5 and 265. I thought he'd at least get 55. So I'm not going to call it a hometown discount because it's not, because he's not from here, but he gave the Niners a discount. Could he have been a hard ass and played ball and said, look, I ain't taking a dime less than Trevor Lawrence. I don't care if he was the first pick and I was the last pick. I'm better than Trevor Lawrence. And he's right. And Trevor Lawrence got $200 million guaranteed. Trevor Lawrence got $55 million a year. So I'm a little bit surprised, but I think Brock was like, what's the difference? And, he's kind of talked like this, and we'll hear in a press conference what he says, but something to this extent, because when you come from making Mr. Irrelevant money and then all of a sudden you're making $53 million, you have $181 million guaranteed, and his family and where they're from and all that kind of stuff. It's like, do I really need to milk the final dime? The players union probably wanted him to do that. His agent probably wanted him to do that. But at the end of the day, Brock Purdy probably said, look, man, 53, 55, Dr. Seuss, do it, give me a deuce, like whatever. Just let's go. It's $53 million. It's $181 million guaranteed, which is what matters. 10 generations, 20 generations of my family are taken care of. I think I'm good. So I think he did give him a bit of a discount. Hometown, I wouldn't call it, but the fact that Brock wants to play, get the bad taste out of his mouth from last year, I think it played a part in it. And also what played a part in it is, which is different than Brandon Ayuk and different than Trent Williams and different than any other position on the roster, which is Brock wants to get in here. And he wanted to show leadership, and he wanted to be here for OTAs, and he wanted to be here from the beginning, and he didn't want to be a training camp distraction over $1 million or $2 million. That much to me is clear. And he said it when he was here before, and I'm sure he'll say it in the press conference. He loves football. He's a junkie. I'm a junkie, man. He wanted to be here. And it's clear by this contract. He got good money. He got really good money. The dumbasses who are on, the national stages, this is going to be great for them on Monday. Oh, my God, how can they pay him? They're never going to be all these quarterbacks get paid. Jimmy Garoppolo was at one point the highest paid quarterback at $25 million a year. I told you this when we started this conversation. In 2016, Andrew Luck was the highest paid quarterback in the league, averaging at $24.6 million a year. That was 2016. We're 10 years later, and Brock Purdy's getting $53 million, and he's the fifth highest paid by overall. I look at the guaranteed money. Again, let me just go back down if you're joining us just now. The guaranteed money is what matters, and that's $181 million. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's the eighth highest in terms of guaranteed money. That's what matters. All this other stuff's funny money. So is that where it should be? Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen's better. Dak Prescott's not. Deshaun Watson's not. Burrow is. Lawrence isn't. Herbert has better tools, but hasn't been better. Lamar Jackson's better. Hurts is on the same plane. Goff is similar. He's better than Tua. He's better than Love. He's better than Kyler. He's not as good as Mahomes. Carr's retired. He's better than Cousins. So, I mean, how could you say with a straight face and any kind of NFL knowledge that Brock Purdy doesn't deserve the contract? Of course he does. Of course he does. Last year, if you didn't watch the 49ers, you wouldn't think so. But I don't know. They lost Christian McCaffrey. Do you think that's important? They lost their number one receiver in Brandon Ayuk. You think that's important? They lost Trent Williams for a period of time. They had a generally interior offensive line wasn't great. Like Brock Purdy had to try to do too much last year. Brock Purdy will bounce back this year. This isn't homerism talking. And if I didn't think that Brock Purdy was going to bounce back, I'd tell you. I look at the first couple of years when he came in and did what he did after the injuries. Guy played well in a Super Bowl, went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Defense gave it up. Special teams this year was terrible. He just had to do too much. And you say to yourself, well, if Brock Purdy needs everybody around him while they're paying him so much, every quarterback does. Tell me a quarterback that doesn't have players and talent around him. What does Kansas City try to do every year? They try to get more protection for Patrick Mahomes. They try to get him more offensive weapons. They took a guy in 𝐬𝐵𝐽𝑒worthy, the fastest guy in the draft in the first round last year. You think that helps Patrick Mahomes? Kind of. The Bills, what do they do every single year? They try to surround Josh Allen with better players. Lamar Jackson, they've been looking for wide receivers forever. They drafted a first-round center. They drafted a second-round right tackle. They do, I go down every quarterback that gets paid. Dak Prescott. They go get CeeDee Lamb. They've got to have talent around them, or they're not going to be any good. I don't know a quarterback that hasn't had good players around him. Peyton Manning went to the Hall of Fame. Don't you know if you know that? You know what his skill position players were? Marvin Harrison, Hall of Fame. Edgerrin James, Hall of Fame. Dallas Clark, pretty good tight end. Reggie Wayne. Tom Brady had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez for a period of time. They brought in Randy Moss. Like, go on down the line of any quarterback that's successful in this league and really, really, really good. Joe Montana had Jerry and John Taylor and Brent Jones and Ricky Water. They were pretty good. Steve Young had a number of really good players around him. You got to have good players around you. You can't do it. It's not a one-man show. Like, all these people act like, oh, if Brock Lossie's guys who's any good. The national guys just don't know, or they just don't care. And the main thing is they're just stuck on 262. He's Mr. Irrelevant. He can't get paid this money. He's better than Trevor Lawrence, who was the first overall pick. And I'll tell you this too. If the Niners had called Tennessee for the first pick and said, we'll give you Brock Purdy, Tennessee would have snapped it up before the words hardly could come out of the mouth of John Lynch. Cam Ward for Brock Purdy. I'll take Brock Purdy, thanks, for 1,000. I mean, Brock Purdy's a good quarterback in this league. He's a top 10 quarterback. And on a good day, take those top 3, take Joe Burrow, and then start at 5. And Purdy's in the conversation. Stafford's in the conversation. Jalen Hurts is in the conversation. I mean, then now you can start. And that's where he is. And statistically, he's better than a lot of those guys. He's done that. Oh, he has great players around him. So does everybody. You think that Jalen Hurts did it by himself in that offense? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, maybe the best offensive line in the league. I don't know. Do you think that had anything to do with it? You think when Jared Goff plays indoors for the majority of his games and has the two-headed running backs that he has and Penny Sewell on the right side and the receivers that they have on that team, you think Amon-Ra St. Brown has any kind of to do with Jared Goff having success? Like, just go on down the line for all these guys. You get a young quarterback, you build the offensive line to protect him, you get skill position players to help them. That's what you do. And that's what every quarterback in the league has. So they come and they go, whatever. There's no doubt in my mind that not only did Brock Purdy deserve to be paid, Brock Purdy took a discount from the 49ers down to $53 million. He's better than Lawrence at 55. He's better than Jordan Love at 55. Now, again, those numbers are inflated like bumping up a tire. Like I said, 55 doesn't matter. 265 is what he got, which doesn't matter. It's the $181 million in guarantees that Brock Purdy got. That's the deal. That's the number, $181 million. So there he is. Allen, Prescott, Watson, Burrow, Lawrence, Herbert, Jackson. I'd put him ahead of that list. I'd put him with or ahead of Herbert, depending on the week Herbert had. He's better than Lawrence. Come on, he's better than Watson. He's beaten Dak Prescott at every turn. So he's better than a number of quarterbacks that are actually ahead of him. Mahomes is behind him. Mahomes is better. Other than that, there's nobody behind him that I'd take him on a consistent basis. I mean, he's on a par to me with like Jordan Love. As long as everything's going well, then Jordan Love is going to do, or excuse me, of Goff. Goff, when he's indoors and everything's clicking and everybody's going and Gibbs is back there and they got the two-headed monster and Amon-Ra St. Brown and they had a great tight end in Laporta. Like, when everything's looking good for Brock, he's going to be really good. He had a subpar year last year. I believe he'll bounce back because the injuries. You lose Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to go on a limb here. You lose Christian McCaffrey, you're not quite as good. You lose your number one receiver in Brandon Ayuk, not quite as good. So a lot of his success will be how quickly can Ayuk get back? How much of a leap is Ricky Pearsall going to make in year 2? From a running back perspective, how healthy is McCaffrey going to be? He's like the Steph Curry of the 49ers. All eyes are on Christian McCaffrey. Hikes the ball. Where's McCaffrey? He tilts the field and makes it easier on everybody else. I don't know. Were the Warriors as good against the Timberwolves without Steph Curry? I didn't notice. No, not so much, because they couldn't tilt the court like that. They didn't have all the eyes on him. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. All eyes on McCaffrey. Oop, there's Ayuk running open because that linebacker didn't get the right depth because he crept in because of McCaffrey. I mean, that's the intricacies of completing a pass or it's incomplete. Is that, there goes McCaffrey out of the backfield. That linebacker took a step to the left and 2 steps in, and all of a sudden that opened up a gap behind the linebacker in front of the safety, and Brandon Ayuk just got a first down on an in-breaking route. I mean, that's everybody, Brock Purdy, brother, is not as good. I'll give it to you. He forced some passes. I talked about it all season long. But if he plays within the game and he's got the healthy players, Brock Purdy's a top 10 and on some days a top 5 quarterback. So 5 and 265 at $53 million plus and $181 million guaranteed. That's a great deal for the 49ers, and it's a great deal for Brock Purdy. So I'd be encouraged. And again, let me go through it one more time with you. The old deal is this. Oh my God. The old deal is this. The overall value, like I said, which is pumped up, comes in at 5 behind Mahomes, Allen, Lawrence, and Burrow. 275 is Burrow, so 265, that's next. And again, that's money that he'll largely never see. $53 million per year. Like I said, I was a little surprised. I thought he'd at least come in at 55. Love, Burrow, Lawrence at 55. After Dak at 60. Jared with the big overpay there. 53.12 of 53 Goff, so he's right there next to Jared Goff, and that's about where he should be. But I thought, like I said, I thought it'd be a little bit higher. And then as I keep popping up there, he's 7th as far as the guarantee. So Allen's got 250, 231 Dak, 230 Deshaun. Wow. 219 Burrow, 200. And again, I was using Trevor Lawrence as kind of the measuring stick there. I thought he'd be higher than that. Justin Herbert, who again, he is the great potential guy, 193.7, 185 in Lamar, 181 for the guarantee for Brock Purdy. So there are the numbers for Brock Purdy. Love to get your thoughts on it. I think it's a great deal for the 49ers. I think it's a great deal for Brock Purdy. I think the best part of the whole deal, to be completely honest with you, is that we don't have to talk about it anymore, because I've told you the whole time on the show that it was getting done, that they were dotting I's, crossing T's, that all the things that were positive about this, because he was coming to the OTAs and to the camps and to things he honestly didn't have to come to. And so to me, that was the sign the whole time that Brock Purdy was going to get something done. The other great part about this deal for the 49ers, their fans, and frankly, media, because that's what I do, is that, we don't have it. It's not a discussion point. Where's Brock? Where's Brock? Why isn't the deal done? Where's Kittle? Why isn't the deal done? Last offseason was railroaded from the beginning because Brandon Ayuk's deal, and it was so weird. Ayuk's on the field, he's off the field, he's hugging people, but he doesn't have a deal. Is he going to get traded? I mean, what the hell's going on? And it just set a weird tone for the season. You felt it, I felt it. And then near the end, about beginning of training camp, it was like, oh, Trent Williams isn't coming either. He wants to get paid. So all of a sudden now he's not there. He gets injured late in the year. It just set a bad tone for the whole year. It just had a bad vibe. You could feel it. There was a bad vibe around the whole season. So that's going to be avoided. George Kittle deal, done. Brock Purdy deal, done. For 1 second, people are like, oh my God, Mikael Williams hasn't signed. Done. So the rookies everybody's done. So there's not going to be any kind of, the only thing probably that is left, and this is now people will freak out about this. Oh my God, Fred Warner's deal's not done. What's going to happen with Fred? It's a $29 million cap hit. It's not getting, he's not going to play on that number. But at the beginning, Fred came in. In fact, I was there on the day on OTAs when they came in for the first time, and Fred was asked about the number. He's like, I'm not worried about it. So they'll his deal is just a renegotiation, just a redo. And I don't see that is a big deal. Plus, to be completely honest with you, and talking to Fred that day, what was it, about 2-3 weeks ago, he's so focused on the season. He wants that bad taste out of his mouth from 2024. Fred Warner's not holding out. Everything I've told you this offseason has happened. So I'm just telling you, Fred Warner is not holding out. So emergency show, Purdy gets paid $5,265, not like last season. Where the deal ranks, I showed you that. Brock deserves the deal. I can guarantee you on Monday there'll be a debate amongst the dumbass talking head shows on Fox and ESPN. They don't know. They're stupid. You're smart. As I said, national media won't like it. Like I said, it's a deal. He gave the 49ers a deal. Because if I'm Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence is not getting paid more than me. Jordan Love's not getting paid more than me. And like I said, it's the guaranteed money that matters. And right there, the only guy that I would have, like I said, exception with that got the guarantee more than I did. It's not, let me see, where's the 181? It's the 181 that matters. Where's that slide? Come on, Lund. Get with it. Right there. Lamar Jackson, I don't have a problem with Herbert. Lawrence is the only one. Well, Watson, but Cleveland's stupid. But that $200 million of Lawrence is, if I was Brock, I would have had an issue with that. But you know what? Like I said, gave him a deal. I think he really did. All right, let's get some thoughts. Let's see. Best news of all off season. I would agree, just because it's like, you know what? I knew it was getting done. We all knew it was getting done. And all these national guys, it's like, come on, it's getting done, man. There was never a point where it wasn't going to get done. So I'm glad that it's done from that standpoint, because the closer it got, the more the dumb talking heads were going to have, oh, he deserves it. No, he doesn't. No, he deserves it. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. Ugh. It was never a question of that. That question was answered a long time ago. Remember when you and I were together and Kyle Shanahan, basically treated him like a son it was locker clean out day. And he basically with Dre Green, like goes, some of the other players, but then Brock was my long lost son. He's going to be here as long as I coach here. It was like, that deal's getting done. And then people were still like, no, I don't know. Like, oh, come on. We know it's getting done. Stop it. There it is. East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Let's go. Absolutely. Let's go, man. We're ready. Camp can start tomorrow. I mean, let's go, right? Let's do this. Mark, love Purdy. Good for him. Good for the Niners. Well deserved. I couldn't agree more. Would agree with this, Daniel. The national media will be talking about it for the next 5 years. Yeah. Look, he's a good quarterback. Last year was last year. I think it's going to be a blip on the radar. When you have a quarterback, and I don't care where he was drafted, who takes over, and in his first year, they go to the NFC Championship game, and obviously he was a big reason why he gets hurt. They have no chance. And then the next year, they go to the Super Bowl. I don't know. You might want to pay that quarterback. Call me crazy. Hi, Brittany. 49ers finally get back to youth strengths and speak out with the old and in with the new. I would agree. Look, here's the new for the 49ers that I would talk about, and it's the front office. And what happened here with the 49ers front office is this is a philosophical change. And I told you this a couple of weeks ago when Kittle got his deal done, and I told you the reason I got so mad at that one NFL insider because I heard they were dotting I's and crossing T's, and that was the day she came out and said, well, there's a problem here. And Kittle actually then tried to help her and say, your sources are wrong. And then she went back to said sources instead of texting or calling George Kittle, who's easy to get a hold of. And she doubled down on my sources say when he said it was getting done. And guess what happened the next day? Deal was done. So what that told me at that point was that the 49ers, even though their philosophy was let's take it up to the last second, let's get these deals done in camp. And that's what they did. I mean, September 6th for Bosa's deal. Kittle's first deal got done late July. The extension for Warner got done late July. The extension for Deebo Samuel got done on August 1st. I'm talking about a couple of years ago. Brandon Ayuk, we know that was a late deal. Like all these deals, all these extensions that got done for these guys that they wanted to keep, they got done. They just got done late. And last year, because it was such a dumpster fire with what happened, they just said, you know what, guys, I guarantee this is what happened. They just went, we can't do this anymore. I know that was the way we used to do business, but we got to get guys in here. We don't want another 2024. We've got to get that taste out of our mouth. And so what they do, they got Kittle's deal done early. They got Purdy's deal done early. And you give a massive assist, and we'll have I'm sure they're going to shoot something out of when they're going to do a press conference with Brock, and I'll be down there for you. But Brock deserves a bunch of credit for this getting done because you could just tell he went out and he came in and you know that the deal was getting done because he came in and you saw the positive discussion and Brock talked and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, obviously things are positive here. And it does help that his dad played professional sports, and it does help, I think, that he was Mr. Irrelevant. And I'm sure he said to himself, could I hold out for the $55 million per year that Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, who I'm better than, got? Yeah, I could. Could I hold out for the $200 million that Trevor Lawrence got, and I got $181 million? Darn, I'm going to starve Latrell Sprewell. Like, nah, I'm okay. I get the seventh most guaranteed money. I'm okay with that. Yeah. And it's going to be outdated. A year from now, another quarterback's going to sign, and it's going to drop him low. Another quarterback's going to sign, and it's going to drop him lower. He's okay. He's got 10 generations of family that he can take care of with this money. He'll be fine. And he's not a guy that's going to run with a posse. He's not a guy that's going to need the biggest house on the block. And he's already married. He probably is going to drive Toyotas till the day he dies. I mean, that's just, I don't see Brock next year pulling up in a Trent Williams $1 million gold Rolls Royce. I just don't. Rolls Royce. I just don't see it. I see him like whatever the top of the line, nicest Toyota that can possibly be had. I bet he's driving that. Some kind of Toyota truck or Sequoia or something that's kind of maybe tricked out just a tiny bit. Not, I don't see Brock with big rims and things like that. I'm not talking about that. He's not going to be rolling with 22-inch or anything like that. But I mean, the nicest stock Sequoia you can find. It might even be black with smoked windows, but it's, what is that thing? Maybe 110 grand. Like maybe he's going to do that, but he's not going to, he ain't buying a Rolls. His wife's not going to be rolling in, whatever. I mean, it's not, he's probably going to buy a big farm. He's probably going to donate a lot of that money. I mean, that's just Brock Purdy, but give him a big assist because that Brock Purdy was like, get it done. One of the few situations where I know that the agent wanted to say, you got to make me look good here, and I got to look good with the players union, which he does. There's nothing wrong with this deal. It's just, I guarantee you that as much as anybody, and we always say that the agent works for the player, and they do, but the agent also says to the player, you can't sign a bad deal here. So they found, I think, a happy medium where the agent is happy enough, the players union is happy enough, and Brock gets $5 and $265, and he doesn't have to drain the 49ers for every dime. Because to be honest, a lot of guys would have said, I'm better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm not taking less. I'm just not. And that was my target the whole time was, and again, the per year isn't that big of a deal. It's the guaranteed money. But Lawrence got 200 and Purdy got only 181. Only 181. I don't know how he's going to survive. All right. What else do we got? Who else? People are crying on their channel. Whatever. Look, anybody who knows anything about the 49ers knew this was getting done, knew the range in which it was going to get done, knew the range on the date that it was going to get done. I'll be honest with you on this one. I didn't have any intel. I did on Kittle. I didn't have any intel on Purdy. I just knew this. I had heard this, that they were getting close and that things were positive. There was no negative discussions. There was, there was no doubt in my mind. I thought this deal would get done around June 1st is what I had, friends of mine that are in the know were thinking this deal was going to get done around June 1st. So what are we at? May 16th. So like I said, I think a lot of this is, a lot is the 49ers. They like to do things a certain way. I think that they have come out of their shell a bit and said, we can't be doing this last minute stuff, especially with the bad taste of 2024 in their mouth. We don't want the Ayuk deal like that. We don't want the Trent Williams deal like that. We want our quarterback in. And I've told you this before. It's important to get the quarterback in. He just sent a message to the team. He just sent a message to the receivers. He just sent a message to everybody on the team. Guys, I'm not fucking around this year. We're not having a year like we did last year. We're changing it. It's got to be different. And it's going to start in the offseason. It always does. How hard do you work in the offseason? How much you lift in the offseason? How much do you – now here's what Brock Purdy can do. This is why this at the end of the day, and the bottom line to the whole thing is this is why it's important. Because I will guarantee you, my friends, that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear of, hey, you know what's happening? Is Brock Purdy's taking the guys down to, this is where they normally do it, San Diego. And they're going to go down to, U of San Diego, and they're going to throw the ball around. And I know Jeff Garcia's down there, a bunch of people. And they're going to, Brock's going to be throwing with the receiver, and Brock's paying for all of it. So, maybe they'll go to Nashville with Kittle. I don't know. But usually what happens is a quarterback says, we're going down to San Diego, and Brock's paying for all of it because now he can. He had endorsements off the field, so it's not like Brock's going to starve, but Brock's going to say, okay, I'll pay for everything. And even Ayuk will probably come down there and hang out with the guys. But you know what? Juwan Jennings is going, and Ricky Pearsall's going, and the new guys that they drafted are going, and everybody's going, and Kittle's going, and hey, Ross Dwelly's back, and Ross Dwelly's going, and everybody's going, and Christian McCaffrey's going, and Isaac Guerendo's going, and everybody's going. Even if some linemen want to come on down and have some beers, and I'll buy you some steaks, whatever. He's going to have a big powwow down there, and they're going to throw the ball. When do you get better? How do you get better? You get better in the offseason. Why is that? Because I tell you this story all the time, and I'm going to tell you it again. 300-pound defensive linemen are trying to rip Brock Purdy's face off, and they're trying to change the defense up on him and all this kind of stuff, and he's got less than 3 seconds to decide. Am I going to my first read? Up that corner's playing outside leverage. I got to read inside. My receiver's got to read inside. This guy's got to read that. So he's got 3 or 4 or 5 things in his head that he's got to think of in less than 3 seconds. I put up 2, but I meant 3. In 3 seconds, and he's got to be telepathically on the same page as all those receivers. That's what he's got to do. How do you learn that? Well, you work a lot in the offseason, and they stop right in the middle of the play. Brock's got shorts on, and they're down there in San Diego, and he looks at Ricky Pearsall for the sake of conversation and says, Ricky, I need you to run this exactly at 7, and then you need to cut this way, and if he's doing this, then you do that, blah, blah, blah. So they work, then they work, and they work, and they work, and then by the time they get to training camp, where you used to get in shape, they're all in shape. They're all telepathically on the same page. They get in that game against, God, they have so many bad teams they're playing, at home against the Rams, the only playoff team they play in the at home this year. And then everybody knows, because why? They worked in the offseason about it. You don't have enough time nowadays because of what the players union has done. They've gotten a certain amount of days off and all these different things. So what happens is you've got to work on your own. And I'm telling you, and we'll come back on the show and I'll go, I told you, in like 2-3 weeks, or maybe even sooner, we're going to hear they're down in San Diego, they're working. Or they're, I was going to say Phoenix. Ain't Phoenix, 110 there. He's from Arizona, but my son just got back from Arizona. It's 100 today down in Arizona. They're not going there. But they're going to San Diego or somewhere nice and cool or whatever the case may be, not up here. And Brock's going to pay for the whole thing. He's buying steaks every night. They're going to rent a big house. They're going to do an Airbnb or 2 or 3. It's going to have a big pool and a hot tub, and everybody's going to hang out, and everybody's going to throw the bill on Brock because Brock just got $181 million, and he doesn't care. Brock, it's on you, buddy. And that's what he's going to do. And they're all going to get together, and then they're all going to be on the same page. And guess what? They're going to come up for training camp. Kumbaya, my Lord. Everybody's going to say Kumbaya, and it's going to be totally different than 2024. This is how it's going to work. So, good deal. All right, what else do we got today? It's about a 10-minute tangent. What else? All right, what else do we got? Let's see. I loved how everyone is saying he should take less because he's Christian. He's good at his job. He should be paid what the two sides believe he's worth. I couldn't agree with you more. Believe me, it's not like, and if you just joined us, let me go through this one more time. It's not like Brock took a massive pay cut or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form. But what I'm saying is there's your old contract, which any of us would take any time of the week. It's not like the guy was poor. Plus, he had what? A seed endorsement, a Toyota endorsement. I remember we interviewed him from Radio Row in Phoenix. After his rookie year, I think he was doing panini, not the sandwich, but trading cards. I mean, he was all over the place. So it was, Brock didn't starve. And then, like I said, this is the funny money, $265 million. So the total value comes in after Mahomes, Allen, Lawrence, and Burrow ahead of Herbert. Again, that's inflated money. Doesn't matter. $53 million is the number that equals Jared Goff and is behind Tua, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Burrow, Love, and Prescott. And I'll say again, he could have gotten ahead of Lawrence, I'm sure of it, but just said, let's go. Let's get this thing going. And then this is the money that matters. This is the actual money he is guaranteed to see after Allen, Prescott, Watson, Burrow, Lawrence, Herbert, Jackson. He comes in 7th. Probably if he was going to push that thing, he could have gotten $200 million, but like I said, 10 generations of your family. You even put that, even invest that in a incredibly conservative way, and you're set for the rest of your life, as is about 10 generations of your family. So there it is. I think that's some spot rack, by the way, is where I got that. Brock, 5 years, $265 million, $181 million guaranteed. The deal is done. There it is. Breaking news today on a Friday. By the way, on a Friday, usually a very bad news on a Friday, by the way, from a media standpoint, usually bury bad news on a Friday, but that's not what they're doing, man. They're doing that. All right. Anything else we need to discuss today? There you go. Big news. The biggest news. Brock Purdy gets paid 5 years, $265, $181 million. Like I said, that is the money that matters. And the deal is done. So no holdouts, no hold-ins, no worries, no freaking out. They still got to get a deal done with Fred Warner to restructure that deal. It's not like he's a free agent, but his cap number is $29 million. And that was, I said this about George Kittle. Now, he was going to the last year of his deal. Actually, Warner has 2 years. It's $29 million this year, $26.5 next year. He's not going to play on those numbers. But I told you about Kittle. His number jumped from 12 to 22, so you knew that thing was going to get redone. And then Warner's jumps from about $12.6 million last year to $29 million next year. He's not going to play on that. So that's the only thing really left to do for the 49ers in this offseason. If some players shake free, that would be nice. The other thing to look out for, let me check before we get out of here. Let me double check one thing because I did not see the numbers yet on this deal. Maybe they haven't come out. But the one thing is, and there's a misconception about this, is how his number is going to just kill the 49ers. And we saw what they released. And some of that had to do with Brock, but some of it just didn't. Some of it was just, hey, we're getting old and we're getting too expensive. And I'm just not going to do that. So, yeah, they don't have it up there yet. But I will later. If you follow me, and I know there's a lot of people watching on X right now. I can see that. At John Lund Radio on X, I'll put out the numbers when they come out for Brock Purdy. I would imagine the first year of this deal, like I said, it's an average of $53 million. But again, there's going to be a bunch of funny money. The reason why I say it's inflated, you're like, Lund, what are you talking about inflated? The reason why I say the overall number of 265 is inflated and the 53 million per year is inflated is because they elongate contracts out, in this case 5 years. That's what the quarterbacks get nowadays. But they put a lot at the end to get that number up to that number. So like I said, we're going to see a certain number in the first year and then it's going to elevate. But then what will happen is when you see that number jump in like the third or fourth year of this deal, then you'll know it's over and they got to renegotiate that thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was like more like a 3-year deal. Remember, Sam Darnold's deal came out with Seattle, and it was 2 years and $110 million, and everybody's like, oh my God, this and that, or 3 years, I should say, and $110 million. It's a 1 year, $35 million deal. That's what it is. And so, I'm not saying Brock's deal is a 1 year deal. It's not. It's 5 years. It's probably 3 or 4. They'll probably have outs during it and all those kind of things. But by the 5th year, it's going to have some outrageous number that makes the contract as big as it is. So Brock can go, I got 53, and the agent can go, I got Brock 53, and all that kind of stuff. But by the 5th year, they're going to need to renegotiate the deal in the 4th year. That's how these deals go. And it's not going to kill their cap at the beginning. So that's kind of how this is. That's why I keep saying it's funny money at the beginning, because he's not going to – that's the first contract. He's not going to see all that money, the $265, and he's not going to see the $53 million per year. Again, if you look at any of these contracts, they're all back bloated. I call it back bloated, not back loaded. They're back bloated because they have to redo these deals. So again, the only thing that matters is that money right there, that $181 million, which he's 7th in. So again, hopefully he'll be able to survive, feed his family, all those kind of things on that $181 million. I feel bad for him. What else do we have? I think that's it. I think that got you caught up on everything. Anything else that we need to discuss? Anything, questions, comments, thoughts on Brock's new deal? But this is a good day for 49ers fans. He got a good deal. It's a fair deal for all sides. Brock deserves it. The national media is going to all freak out, but you know better. Like I said, on any given Sunday, you got your top 3 quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow's 4th. You could say Stafford was 5th, but you could go from 5 to 10. I think you can go with Brock Purdy, and there's no doubt that he deserves this money. And I think it's laughable that somebody would say that he didn't. But hey, have your own opinion. Be wrong if you like. You do you. No huge distraction. I would say that that's exactly right. That they got these deals done. They got Kittle's deal done. They got Purdy's deal done. 2025 is different. And one thing that I think is very big for the 49ers is they learned a lesson, which is, hey, let's stop getting these deals done in July and August. I mean, at least they're getting done, but they're getting done too late. And there's animosity with the player and the team, and there's distractions. And like you said, no distractions. That's a big deal for the 49ers. So there you go. All right, emergency show. Purdy gets paid. I'm going through the chalkboard one more time. Purdy gets paid. 5 years, $265, $181 guaranteed. Not like last season in 2024, holdouts, hold-ins. That's good. Where the deal ranks, I've showed you that. Brock deserves the deal. Absolutely 100%. He's a top 5 to 10 quarterback, depending on a given Sunday. Like I said, there's 3 elite. Then there's Joe Burrow. Then at the 5, you can start, I think, making the debate for him. Now, I get it if you say Jalen Hurts. I get it if you say Stafford. I get it if you say Herbert. Okay, I get it. But he's in the mix for those guys. Could he be more different than Justin Herbert? No, he could not be. But he can be just as effective or better depending on the Sunday. So there you go. And the national media won't like it. There you go. Purdy got paid. And there you go. There's the emergency show for John Lund Unleashed. Thank you so much for having your alerts on, because if you didn't have your alerts on, you wouldn't know. You're like, what's Lund doing? Isn't he supposed to be doing a show? Isn't this pretty much the dictionary definition of what he should be doing right now? Yeah, absolutely. Emergency show. There you go.
It's a John Lund Unleashed emergency show.
911, what's your emergency?
Something big must have happened because Lund isn't getting
Something
off
did
his
happen.
ass for just any old breaking news.
No, I'm not going to get off my
A big
ass.
trade, free agent sign.
You get the idea. So there you go. Emergency show. Brock Purdy gets paid. If you would like to see me for a 3rd time in one day, which I'm thinking that's probably too much, but we will be back with Larry Krueger. I have confirmed with Larry Krueger for A's and Giants tonight. We will do top O the pint. So, bottom O the pint, top of the pint. We'll do bottom of the pint tonight. So Giants, A's, bottom of the pint. We'll do that tonight. Before opening pitch, we'll jump on here and we'll do a show for the game. So if you'd like to hang out with Larry Krueger and I in the Krug Show, and I got a little bit of an inkling, knowing Larry the way that I do and the way that you do, is that we'll have some Purdy talk on tonight's show, but we will definitely try to focus on A's and Giants as well. Any more thoughts? In Brock we trust. There you go. It is done. Brock Purdy, 5 and $265 with $181 million guaranteed. There you go. The Brock Purdy deal is done, and the 49ers seem to have learned their lesson. Let's not have holdouts and hold-ins. Let's get Kittle done. Let's get Purdy done, and they do. Again, 5, 265 with $181 million guaranteed. If you missed anything, go to the beginning of the show. I'll post this. I'll put chapters on it, but essentially we talked one thing. Brock Purdy gets a new deal, and it is done with the 49ers. I'll be back later tonight, later today with Bottom of the Pint with Larry Krueger as we talk Giants and A's. Until then, have a great day, and thanks for tuning in to the John Lund Emergency Show. Brock Purdy gets paid.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!